Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Verdict, where we delve into intriguing and challenging cases that have left a mark in the annals of crime history. Here, we unravel the tapestry of truth, revealing the threads of justice and the knots of the law. Today, we draw back the curtain on a case that still chills the bones, the Kahler family case. So, buckle up as we venture into the chilling case of the Kahler family, a case that shook the United States and had serious implications on the legal system. The Kahler family case is one that sends shivers down the spine, even years after its occurrence. The tale of the Kahler family begins like any other: a loving couple, two beautiful children, living in a picturesque small town in Kansas. James Kahler, the father, was a well-respected figure within the community, while Karen Kahler, the mother, was known for her kindness and warm-hearted nature. The children, Emily and Lauren, were as bright and promising as they come, their futures stretching out before them like a golden sunrise. But beneath the veneer of the perfect family, dark currents were swirling. James and Karen's marriage was deteriorating. Their once passionate love turned sour. As the couple teetered on the brink of divorce, a deep anger and resentment began to take root within James, an anger that would soon eclipse rational thought and lead to a horrifying act of violence. On a cold November night in 2009, the unthinkable happened. James Kahler, driven by his rage and despair, committed an act so heinous it rocked the small Kansas town to its core. He brutally murdered his wife, Karen, their two children, Emily and Lauren, and Karen's grandmother, Dorothy White. The once vibrant Kahler family was wiped out in a single night, their lives cut short by the very person who should have protected them. In the aftermath of the crime, the community was left reeling. Neighbors, friends, and relatives struggled to comprehend the magnitude of the tragedy. Their grief mingled with shock and disbelief. As the investigation unfolded, the spotlight fell on James Kahler, the man at the center of the storm. He was arrested and charged with the murders. His life as he knew it effectively over. A family was wiped out and a community was left in shock. The man responsible, none other than a family member himself. To understand the implications of this case, we must go back to 1995. In this year, a significant law was enacted in the United States, specifically in Kansas. This law was designed to address a common defense used by criminals in court, attributing their premeditated actions to a mental disorder. This legal maneuver was often used to suggest that the perpetrator was unable to distinguish between right and wrong due to their mental health condition. But let's break it down a bit. You see, prior to 1995, it was possible for a defendant to argue that they were not in control of their actions or unaware of the consequences due to their mental illness. This was known as the insanity defense, and it had been a part of our legal system for centuries. However, the Kansas legislature believed that this defense was being abused. They saw case after case where individuals committed heinous acts, only to claim mental instability as a shield from the full weight of the law. This wasn't just a Kansas issue, it was a national concern. The perception was that too many criminals were escaping justice by using the insanity defense, whether it was genuine or not. So, in 1995, Kansas lawmakers decided to act. They passed a law stating that a criminal could not attribute his or her premeditated actions to a mental disorder, effectively eliminating the insanity defense. The goal was clear: to ensure that those who committed premeditated crimes were held accountable, regardless of their mental state. This law was not without controversy. Critics argued that it ignored the realities of mental illness and that it could potentially lead to unfair trials for those who genuinely could not distinguish between right and wrong due to their condition. Despite these concerns, the law stood firm. Fast forward to the Kahler family case, and this law was about to face a challenge like never before. The issues at the heart of the debate would be thrown into sharp relief, raising questions about justice, mental health, and the very nature of criminal responsibility. This law was about to be tested in a way it never had been before with the Kahler family case. The trial of the Kahler family case was a spectacle that drew national attention. As the courtroom buzzed with anticipation, the defense and prosecution prepared for what would be a trial that would leave deep imprints on the American justice system. The defense's strategy was clear: plead insanity. They contended that their client, the accused, was suffering from severe mental health issues at the time of the crime. They argued that he was not in control of his actions, that he was a vessel being commandeered by the storm of his own mind. They painted a picture of a man tormented by his own thoughts, unable to distinguish right from wrong. However, the prosecution was quick to rebut. They argued that the defense was attempting to exploit a loophole, to dodge justice. They pointed to the premeditated nature of the crime, how it was carried out with chilling precision. They argued that this was not the work of a man out of control, but of a man who knew exactly what he was doing. Now, this is where the 1995 law comes into play. Remember the law we discussed earlier? The one that states a criminal who committed a premeditated crime could not attribute his actions to a mental disorder. Well, that law was the prosecution's trump card. They argued that the law clearly stated that claiming mental illness as a defense for premeditated crime was not permissible. The jury was faced with a decision. Was the accused a victim of his own troubled mind, or was he a cold, calculating killer? The deliberation was intense, with heated debates and arguments resonating within the jury room's walls. Finally, the verdict was delivered. The jury found the accused guilty as charged. The courtroom was a cacophony of gasps, sighs, and whispers. The defense's plea of insanity had been overruled, not by the jury's disbelief in mental illness, but by the application of the 1995 law. In the eyes of the law, premeditation and mental disorder could not coexist. But even as the gavel fell, signaling the end of the trial, the echoes of this case continued to reverberate. It sparked debates about the intersection of mental health and criminal responsibility. It questioned whether the law was too rigid, too black and white, in a world that is filled with shades of gray. The verdict was delivered, but the implications of this case were far from over. The Kahler family case wasn't just about a horrifying crime. It was a case that tested the boundaries of the law. This incident didn't occur in a vacuum. It happened in Kansas, a state where, in 1995, a law was put into place that dictated a criminal could not attribute their actions to a mental disorder. This law aimed to prevent criminals from avoiding punishment by claiming they were out of control or unaware of the consequences due to their illness. But the Kahler case brought this law under scrutiny, challenging its very ethics and feasibility. The defense argued that the perpetrator was suffering from a severe mental disorder at the time of the crime, which made him incapable of distinguishing right from wrong. However, the law stood firm, denying this as a valid defense. This decision ignited debates around the state and even the nation. The question was, and still is, whether it's right to hold someone fully responsible for their actions when their mind is impaired. Should we punish without considering the state of one's mental health? Or should we adapt our legal system to incorporate a more nuanced understanding of mental disorders and their impact on behavior? These debates continue to rage on. They point to a wider issue in our society, the struggle to balance justice and empathy. The Kahler family case has become a symbol of this struggle, a reference point in discussions about criminal responsibility and mental health. The implications of this case extend beyond the courtroom. They reach into our understanding of morality, ethics, and humanity itself. It's a stark reminder that the law isn't always black and white, and neither is the human mind. The Kahler family case continues to be a point of discussion among law enthusiasts and true crime lovers. It's a grim reminder of the complexities of law and the human mind. As we conclude this episode, we're left with more questions than answers. We've delved into the shocking Kahler family case and the significant 1995 law that altered the landscape of criminal defense. This case, with its many layers, continues to spark debate and pose questions about the intersection of law, crime, and mental health. We encourage you to grapple with these complexities, share your thoughts, and continue the conversation. Thank you for joining us on Beyond the Verdict. Stay tuned for more intriguing cases that challenge our understanding of crime and justice.